Does science fail? It's natural to think of science as a linear journey, with each discovery leading to the next until we finally reach the truth. However, reality is more complex. Science is an iterative process, in which mistakes are just as important as successes. One example of this is the Stargate Project, a secret U.S. government initiative in the 1970s. The project aimed to recruit people with supernatural powers, capable of seeing what was happening anywhere in the world without leaving their seats. The idea was to use these psychic spies to obtain secret information about enemies, especially the Soviets during the Cold War. One of the most famous cases occurred in 1977, when an agent named Pete Price described in detail a shed in the Soviet Union where the Russians were building a giant weapon. He also identified the name of the engineer in charge of the project and where he lived. However, the Stargate project was shut down in 1995 after an evaluation found that it had no reliable results or practical utility. This led many to question whether the project really failed or if the U.S. government simply shut down the program to hide information about the existence of psychic powers. The truth is that the Stargate project is a mystery. We don't know if it really worked, or if the results obtained were just coincidences. What we do know is that the project is a reminder that science is not always right, and that we should be prepared to question even our most basic certainties. Vozrozhdeniya Island, or the Island of Rebirth, is a small island in the Aral Sea, between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. The island was relatively unknown until the early 1970s, when a series of sinister and unexplained incidents began to occur. In 1971, a young scientist sailing near the island on her research vessel was infected with smallpox, even though she had been vaccinated against the disease. A year later, 2 fishermen were found dead in their boat, victims of the plague. And not long after that, local fishermen began to find entire nets of dead fish. In 1988, things got even worse. An enormous herd of 50,000 antelopes died in 1 hour. According to some theories, all of these incidents were interconnected. The Soviet Union had been secretly testing biological weapons on the island for half a century. Humans and animals were participating in horrific experiments, as part of an ultra-secret project that transformed the island from a peaceful fishing ground into a terrifying terrain. One of the main things the Soviet Union was testing was anthrax, a dangerous bacterial disease that can last for hundreds of years. When the Cold War ended, the Soviets dumped their remaining stocks in wells and left. To prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, the United States government spent $6 million on a cleanup operation. Today, the island has merged with the surrounding land due to the drying up of the Aral Sea. However, it is still contaminated and full of infected animal pits. The Vozrozhdeniya Peninsula is a ghost town, with only ruins of buildings, rusty tanks, and bones scattered across the ground. It is a place that inspires fear and fascination, but which may still hold deadly dangers. Secret projects to create human-monkey hybrid super soldiers have been underway for years. These projects aim to create animals with underdeveloped brains, intense strength, and resistance to diseases and injuries. In 1920, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin ordered scientists to create a human-monkey hybrid super soldier. He wanted the creature to be able to work in extreme conditions that would be too dangerous for humans. Declassified Russian documents suggest that the Kremlin leaders were trying to form an invincible army of human monkeys. They wanted the hybrids to have immense strength, but with an underdeveloped brain, so that they would be resilient and resistant to hunger. Biologist Ilya Ivanovich led the project in the 1920s. He tried to cross monkeys and humans using artificial insemination, but the project failed. The idea of developing a human Z only resurfaced in the 1970s, when a mutant chimpanzee with human characteristics was created. Nicknamed Oliver, the monkey was a human-chimpanzee hybrid that had less body hair than other animals, but was much smarter. Although an autopsy showed that the hybrid had the same genetic makeup as any normal chimpanzee, Oliver had very human features, such as a flatter face than the apes, less hair volume, and the ability to always walk on 2 feet. Despite Oliver surviving to the age of 52, he did not become a super soldier. He lived most of his life in melancholy and was only happy when someone who cared for him took a walk inside the laboratory facilities. Oliver's case is a reminder that projects to create human and animal hybrids are risky and controversial. While some believe that these hybrids could have useful applications, such as in medicine or defense, others fear that they could create ethical and social problems. The Philadelphia experiment is one of the most intriguing and controversial conspiracy theories in history. According to this theory, the United States government conducted a secret project to make a warship invisible to radar and human eyes using electromagnetic fields and advanced technologies. The project was conducted at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard in Pennsylvania on October 28, 1943, during World War II. The ship chosen was the USS Eldridge, an escort destroyer that was equipped with generators and special coils. The goal was to create a perfect camouflage for the ship, which could infiltrate enemy lines undetected. However, the experiment reportedly went out of control, causing bizarre and terrible effects. Some reports claim that the ship disappeared completely from the shipyard and reappeared instantly in Norfolk, Virginia, over 600 kilometers away. Others say that the ship teleported to another dimension or into the future, and that some crew members became stuck in the hull or fused with the metal. The worst of it all was that when the ship reappeared on the dock, milliseconds later, the crew members were thrashing about and talking nonsense. Others were on fire. And the worst was yet to come. Upon reappearing, some people apparently fused with the ship itself. Sailors trapped inside the metallic structures of the vessel moaned in pain and their twisted bodies protruded from the walls and floor at strange angles. The origin of this theory is based on anonymous letters sent to a science fiction writer named Morris K. Jessup in 1955. The letters were signed by Carlos Allende, who claimed to have witnessed the experiment aboard a merchant ship. Jessup was intrigued by the letters and tried to investigate the case, but he found no concrete evidence. The theory gained popularity with the publication of the book, The Philadelphia Experiment, Project Invisibility, by Charles Berlitz and William Moore in 1979. The book mixed historical facts with speculation and dubious accounts, and was adapted into a film in 1984. Since then, the Philadelphia experiment has been the subject of much research, debate, and, of course, speculation. What do you think? Do you believe these crazy experiments really happened, or do you think it's just a conspiracy theory? Personally, I find the story of the Philadelphia experiment fascinating. It is a perfect example of how reality can be stranger than fiction. Of course, there is no concrete evidence to support the veracity of the theory. However, that does not mean it is impossible. After all, the world is a strange and unknown place, and there are many things we still do not understand. Perhaps, one day, the technology to make a ship invisible will actually be developed. And if that happens, who knows if the Philadelphia experiment wasn't just a first step in that direction.